Welcome to the show, Walter Schmid Show one more time. Here today I have another very special guest from Netherlands, Lex Schutjes. I hope I pronounce it right because the language in Netherlands is a little bit different than in Switzerland and than in English. But however, I appreciate and I'm honored to have you on the show. Hello and welcome, Lex. How are you? And talk about a little bit, who are you?
Well, good morning, Walter. Well, I know everybody has difficulties with pronouncing my surname. In Dutch, it's called Schutjes, but usually I use a different name. I use my wife's name for international reasons because that's an easy one. That's MES, mess. Although that is not promoting me at the moment. But anyway, well, I'm Lex Schutjes. In maritime business all my life, so over 40 years already. And I'm still occupied in maritime business and specialized in super yachting and offshore constructions and helping them out. So that might be sounding contradicting. However, there are very much similarities between those things. And put it this way, all the clients need to be satisfied with a proper working gear or show-off boat or whatsoever, how you want to call it. So that's it's a really interesting job.
Well, that's awesome, and a very interesting 40 years in the maritime business. So you talk about something that you really know a lot and you are completely into that. But how do you came to that job and how do you grow within the maritime industry so that we get a little picture what is the way to grow to that 40 years experience in the same market?
Well, to be honest, I don't know why I chose the maritime industry when I was a young boy. However, a friend of mine started sailing as a sailor, as an officer, and in a few years I wanted to do that as well. So I graduated at the seafarer school here in Flushing. It's called the Ruiter. And I got my diploma as an engineer for unlimited ships. It was a new structure. It was kind of on a bachelor item. So that was new for the industry at that time. We talk about the 1980s at the moment. And immediately I was offered several jobs to join companies, shipping companies. So I joined Netloyd. And Netloyd, it was a combination of former Dutch companies, but I really enjoyed working there because you experience bulker ships, you experience tankers, you experience container ships, general cargo ships, etc., etc. So I worked there for 12 to 13 years, including at the technical department. I now and then helped out during summertime when office people were on holiday. And I ended up by doing new builds for them. And that way I got back with several surveyors, etc., etc. And Netloyd was decreasing its size at that time already. Mm-hmm. So I thought it would be wise to change jobs. So I joined Germanischer Lloyd. And Germanischer Lloyd is one of the classification societies who checks and verifies ships that they still comply with all the international regulations and also flag state regulations. And that is one of the most beautiful jobs there is, actually, to my opinion, because you can have a look in everybody's kitchen. Mm-hmm. And you can be very critical, and you have to be very critical, so that the product does exceed its expectations. And especially for endurance and especially for the maritime world, everything is regulated in that part. So I really love to do that. On the other hand, sometimes you do feel like being a policeman and having a look out that everything is done in the proper way. But okay, you can cope with that. I did that for 12 to 13 years as well. And I ended up being station manager in South Korea for a new build. And with that one, it's one of my highlights, I think. I had 12 surveyors under me. I was the manager. And whenever there was trouble, I was called in to give a second opinion or make a final decision on how to do or how to act. But the working attitude and especially the quality of the South Korean yards is on a very, very high level. And I'm sure a lot of European yachts can't compete with that anymore. But so I really liked that part. And when I came back to Holland again, I was offered a job as structuring the technical department over there, due and as well during sailing on board of the cruise vessels. That's a total new experience again, cruise ships, because that's a different world. And from cruise ships, I think it was only a small step for joining super yachts and joining the new builds for super yachts as well as offshore. Because when I finished at Holland America Line, I joined bureau agency who was looking for all kind of jobs. So I was more or less doing project jobs. And in that case, I started doing the super yachts during winter time because they were nicely built in a nice climate controlled shed. And in the summertime, I was doing offshore work and mostly occupied in windmill industry for placing the windmills on at sea. So well, it was a very, very nice combination. It kept me occupied over more than 12, 13 years as well. And the last 3 years, 4 years, I started my own company as a self-employed one by offering my experience and knowledge to clients in the offshore or in the super yachting industry. So that's how I grew, and that's how I got all the experience in a way, including man management, and of course during 40 years of experience. Well, I don't know. I think I've did about 80 new builds in total or something like that. So I can compare a bit. And what's usually in this world, and especially with human behavior, everything starts repeating itself. So the mistakes and the plans we had in the 80s are, for example, coming back nowadays again. Office structures are, in a way, old-fashioned and coming back again. And that's a very interesting part because there are advantages and disadvantages, but offices and businesses is a living thing. It changes within a year. And I think the business is changed every 7 years, and you have to adapt to that. And I think I'm a very living example of a person who has done so many different things that I changed every 7 years as well. But in my case, it was usually 12 to 13 years. So maybe I'm a little bit slack. But I think you have to be open-minded to everything. But I love the technique and that's all kind of things. And within the last decade, I certainly became a much more all-round person, man-wise, man management, like I mentioned, but also technically, also electrically, and also nautically, but also on paint systems. I grew quite a bit. So in a way, I'm very pleased that I can offer clients a total all-round inspector or client representative or whatever they want to call it. That's only the title. In the end, the job has to be done.
Well, you reached tremendous success in your journey and on your changes as well. And everything that you gathered together is a value that is invaluable in my perspective, as I can say from my point of view, because I think that you are the first one that really brings in so much and very structured growing process, but which makes you to a very unique personality to offer services that others just can't with the same point of views and knowledge and experience. But now it sounds so smoothly with those 10 to 12-year changes, like everything is just have been in place. But I'm sure also you had some challenges. So what was the biggest challenge on your journey and how did you overcome that one?
Oh, well, first thought is the biggest challenge was ending my career at Germanische Lloyd. Because like I said, I really loved that job. But when I came back to Holland, I got stuck into the old routine here in Holland. I lost a lot of my old clients in Holland. So I had to start new again in a way. But I was offered a worldwide job at Germanische Lloyd at that time because they saw that I was in a way used to giving second opinions, in which you have to be diplomatic as well. You know, you have rules which are very black and white, but there's always a small way around it to please the legislation, to please the flag state, and to please the client, or to make a kind of an exception in only in one case only. I think I was very good in that, and that's the reason why they have offered me a worldwide job to do such a thing. But it would mean I would be away or home for about 80% of the year anyway.
Mhm.
So, and that was getting critical because at that time, my family, I had a small daughter as well, and after the Korea time, I wanted to see her as much as possible as well. So I had to decide, okay, I'm going to stop here. And at that stage, Holland America Line was very interested in me to getting me abroad on the cruise ships. And that sounded perfect to me because my wife and daughter could sail with me. Who ignores a cruise ship?
I don't know. Maybe I go asking around somebody. Maybe I find some person.
No, there are good sides and bad sides about it as well, but everybody knows that one anyway. But it was very good for experience. And like I often say, I've done nearly everything which is possible in the maritime world, except for submarines. And lately, I'm involved in dredgings, but also on dredger ships, I don't have experience on sailing myself. But the rest, I can't imagine which I haven't done or inspected or seen or sailed on. So that makes it a very nice and interesting thing.
Absolutely. And now you have changed also to open up your own company, which a lot of people, they say, well, if you haven't done that until you're 40 or in the 40s, there is almost no chance. But you did it afterwards, of course, with a lot of experience. What was it for you, in your perspective, the most important point of views, or what was the actions you needed to take to get started successfully to open up your own company?
Well, I really like the super yachting world, the connection with the clients, etc., etc. And the more I did that, the more I got involved in it, and clients asking me if I could work for them. But as soon as a client asks you that, Dutch taxes are not very popular with foreigners, so we had to make a kind of a solution for that one. And one of the solution was, okay, I'll start my own company. You give me a working contract for that company, and I pay myself from out this is my own company, and I'll take care of all the taxes and things like that. And that worked out quite well. And also the big bureaus which helping out the super yachting clients, they work like that. They always exclude taxes in the countries where you work, etc., etc. So it was a risky step because I only did it 3-4 years ago when I was, say, about 58. So that is quite a risky step, but I was certain, and I did have enough connections in this whole world and within the maritime world, I mean, that they would provide me with a job, even if it was only for 6 months or a year or whatsoever. However, my first job was already, say, nearly 2 years. So that's the best start you can get. You have certainty for 2 years, and then you can see how it all works out, including your own company.
Well, you mentioned a lot of things also in terms of clients, getting together with the clients, talking to a lot of people. How important do you see communication in the job, in the maritime, in what you are doing?
For super yachting, it's very important. You have to know people, the people have to know you. And in a way, the maritime world is always a very small world. So you meet each other everywhere you go, doesn't matter where, and they know where to find you. So the communication is very critical in that part. You have to make them aware that you are available or that you are not available, etc., etc. So that's a difference within the other maritime world. In the other maritime world, they often look for somebody for a specific job at that time, and then they start looking, and they have more offers. But for super yachting, I think it requests a certain kind of attitude of the people, and you need to have a click together. so you can have the same feelings or the same thoughts. And if that occurs, I'm sure your contract will arise very soon.
Now, in this correlation, the coaching of people who are not really strong in communication and negotiation and discussions, how important would you say is coaching for people also in these positions?
Coaching is important. However, you see in negotiations, I'll put it this way, I coach during the negotiations between owner and a yard, because that parties are might influence the eventual buy of the yacht, but are not critical at all. They will be solved. And in that way, I have been able to help out my clients as well as the shipyards by telling them how the usual process goes. And in that way, a solution is found. So you don't have to write it down in a contract, but that solution, it's one of my highlights that it will be solved anyway. So I don't make promises which I can't make, but put it this way, I'll put it on my attention list, and I'm certain I will find a solution with the ongoing project in time. And I think that is one of my strong points as well. I can usually make quite a lot of improvements, which the owner might not even know about because he has a total different background as maritime yachting. But the yacht will be in excess of his expectations. And sometimes even for the yachts are usually very welcome and very pleased that I give them some examples of how to improve the systems or whatever. And in that way, they can evolve and get to a higher quality as well.
Well, that's awesome. Very valued. By the way, your company, what is the name of your company?
My company is called MACES, and that's a kind of abbreviation for a maritime engineering, classification, and expertise services. And that's a combination in that one. And like I said, I can do engineering. I do drawing approvals as well if they like, because I checked those ones and learned about that at Germanische Lloyd. Classification is obvious as well. I know about nearly all the rules. I keep up to it with the updated new rules as well. And I do know a lot of flag state requirements. However, I'm always looking from the practical side of it. There are a lot of rules, like I said before, they are not always that black and white, and you have to find a solution. So that's the best part. Then electrically and expertise is known. The last 4 or 5 years, I've grown quite a bit in paint expertise as well. That's kind of error and trial basis, but nevertheless, I do know what it takes. And well, I can offer those services to a client, so they do get a very all-round person who can do and inspect the new build yacht, or even when they want to buy a yacht, because I do know how it purchase survey or whatever they like.
Awesome. And how can I get in touch with you? Is there any connection opportunity options like email address, like a website, and how can I find you?
The email address, it's macesbv@hotmail.com. So macesbv@hotmail.com. That's my working address. But I'm over the 15 years, I'm already on LinkedIn. And I must say LinkedIn has grown quite a bit, but also my profile is on that one, so they can see my experience in that one. They can message me via LinkedIn. So that's so far is the best way to get in first touch. However, also some shipyards do know me as well, and they like to promote me as well. So if a client is looking for an independent surveyor or an independent owner's representative, then sometimes the shipyards can do give my name, and then the client is getting into contact with me, and we will have a look if it fits and if the project is suited for both of us.
Awesome. Anyway, for the listeners and the viewers here, it is not only said how to approach Lex Schutjes, but also it's about the links that you see all over here in this interview, so that I make sure that you cannot miss him and cannot miss one of the most best knowledged personality in the maritime if you want to have an expert who has 40 years experience in any kind of way in the yachting, especially in the motor yachting, sailing not so much, but even there. However, that's how you can approach him. Now, Lex, another question. Nowadays, we have a certain, let's say, challenge that goes on the market. A lot of people are also thinking about creating and starting their own businesses in different actually areas in the yachting industry too. So what would your best advice be to get started with a company?
My best advice would be make sure that you have a client or clients which are very willing to work with you. Because you can start a company, but if you don't have clients, your company will go bankrupt within 3 months. So make sure you have kind of a deal before you start your own company, or you can start it, but you're almost certain, 99% certain you will get deals. And sometimes you have to be very patient. The market is sometimes overreacting. So you've been offering 3 jobs at a time. So you will have to say no to 3 of them. But sometimes you have to wait 3 months before another project shows up. So that's the different one. And a lot of people who do start their own company, they must prepare themselves by knowing what it takes for taxes, what it takes for administration time, how it takes to get yourself known into the world, and especially making preparations for your next project. Because if you run one project, by the end of it, it's a clear deadline. After that deadline, you're out of a job. So you have to start up communications, say at least, I always say 3 months before, because it takes 3 months before you have a next project. And you have to cope with that, and you have to be patient with that. If your company can't pay you for 3 months, then you have a big problem. So do proper preparations and make sure, especially for your first clients, that you are certain you will get your first clients. And then I think you have a head start.
But that's very valuable. So you sell first before you get started and getting into the risk. And in your perspective as a very experienced and also grown up professional personality, well, there's all the thing that people don't want to wait if they are too young. So not only persistence, but also being patient is a huge part. Now, the last question, which I would like to ask is, where is Lex being within the next 5 years?
I still expect in the same business. It's either the super yacht or helping out a shipping company or things like that. But I think it will be intermitting. Like there will be 1 or 2 months which I don't have a job and just enjoy life, and that's about it. But as soon as a nice project shows up again, and the owner wants me to be his owner representative, I do have a lot of connection with captains and chief engineers and even chief stewardesses. I know a lot of subcontractors as well. So if I can help them out and it feels good for me as well as for them, then I will still be in this business. And I think in this business with over 2,000 big super yachts in the world, and a general new construction of about 70 yachts every year, the whole market is on its limits of knowledge and getting the people on the right place. So I think I will still be in the super yacht business.
I love it. Consistency and persistence. I think that's a huge attitude for you as well. And that's awesome. Very important in this business anyway. Well, thank you very much, Lex. It was a really honor having you here on the show. And I wish you all the best for the next upcoming 20, 30, 40 years in the maritime business. And if you want to say any last words, please go ahead. The stage is yours.
I think I've said about everything already. There's much to say, but like I said, if somebody is looking for an independent surveyor or super yacht owner representative, and they do want a new build, and especially here in Holland, then contact me and I'll have a look if I'm available, and if we do get a click together to make your most evaluated and high expensive project to a very good result and a satisfying result for you. So, and thank you very much, Walter, for this interview. I have been enjoyed. I enjoyed it very much, and well, looking to another one in the next future as well.
I'll take you for granted. Thank you very much. And the last words, by the way, are very important for the listeners. So get in touch with Lex if you want to have an expert for your next yacht or construction or refit whatsoever. This was the Walter Schmid Show. Another very great personality that we have had today, and looking forward for the next one. Take care. Stay safe. See you then. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.